Welcome to the Swing Shift with the Hudson Valley's favorite professional swing dance instructors, Linda and Chester Freeman. The Swing Shift will keep you hep to the jive on everything about swing. Swing dance was the most popular form of dance since the big band era of the 1930s and 40s, and into the rock and roll era of the 1950s. Since the 1980s, it has enjoyed a resurgence as one of the most popular forms of social dance. Join us now in the studio.
Hi, I'm Susan Simon, and today we're turning the tables and we're interviewing Linda and Chester Freeman of Got to Lindy Dance Studios. Hi, Chester. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Well, welcome to your show, and we're going to be talking to you about dance and the history of dance, and you two have been dancing 12 years or so, right?
That's right. We got started just after we got married, which is about 12 years ago.
Well, that's hard to believe. Not that you were married 12 years ago, but that you were only dancing 12 years ago, started dancing 12 years ago, because I take dance classes with you. And as far as I'm concerned, the two of you look like you've been dancing all your lives.
Well, that's the beauty of swing dancing. You can start any time in your life, and after a little while, you start to look like you've been doing it all your life. You should know. You've been dancing a couple of years?
That's right. A little over 2 years. I take dance classes with you, and I absolutely love it. It has totally made one of the most positive differences in my life.
And you know, Susan, that's something that we hear all the time from our students. And when we abandoned our former lives and decided to go ahead and devote ourselves full-time to be professional swing dance instructors, to bring our love of swing dance to the Hudson Valley, people thought we were nuts. I mean, people looked at me and they said, "You can't make a living doing swing dancing." And I said, well, you know what? We're going to try. And the thing that has been more rewarding than anything else, that more enriching than anything else, is people like you, being part of our lives, the joy that we see that our students get from learning how to dance.
And I can attest to that. Before I took dance classes, I was an Ikaroo. And an Ikaroo, for all of those of you who don't know what an Ikaroo is, you will now. It is somebody who doesn't like to dance. It's a term that was coined by Cab Calloway about people who don't dance, about people who aren't hep to the jive. And now I'm proud to say, I'm hep to the jive.
And no longer an Ikaroo.
Exactly, exactly. So it's something I really enjoy. I go to dance classes on Monday night. I'm one of probably the few people in the working world who actually looks forward to Monday morning, because I know when I get up Monday morning, I will be dancing Monday night.
That's right, dance class. So yes, and it has been our pleasure to have you in our dance classes and to see you learn and grow. That is one of the real pleasures that we get out of teaching dance, that we have this tangible evidence. You know, people, we literally change people's lives. They come in and they're convinced that they can't dance, they're convinced they have two left feet, and you know, it's like everyone's unique. Everyone comes in and they're sure that they in particular cannot dance, and they don't realize that every single person that comes to us says, "I can't dance, I have two left feet." And the fact is that we see people come in through the door and they can't dance or think they can't dance, and then they leave and they are dancing. And that just gives us such a tremendous joy. And it's why we actually do emphasize that we learned to dance as adults. Because it's not something that, you know, if you didn't get to do it in childhood, you can never do it, even though you really would have liked to. It's something that you can pick up at any age. And continue to do for the rest of your life, which is just wonderful.
When we have our dance classes or we're teaching the beginner lesson before a dance, we ask, "Have you ever danced before?" And no one raises their hand. We say, "Great."
That's right. That's right. And the great thing about swing dance is it attracts so many ages, generations of people. We have had classes where we have had entire families come to class. We've had, you know, a mother, children, and grandmother in the class. We have had one class, we had a 9-year-old boy and an 82-year-old woman. They didn't know each other. But of course, in our classes, as you know, everyone dances with everyone in rotation, which is why you don't have to come to class with a partner. You just will instantly have partners, instantly have friends. And so they came to class, and the little boy is leading this 82-year-old woman and loving it, you know. It just is such a great thing. And then Chester has a wonderful story about that woman.
Every time we would, one time we asked the followers to rotate to the next partner instead of just walking over to the next partner. She did a little boogie forward. Hadn't taught it to her. She knew it from back in the day.
That's right. So it's like she had this body memory of how to do this. And once she heard the music, she just did it naturally. And it was, you know, Chester caught it right away. And he's like, oh, do you know what you just did? She's like, no, I was just walking to the music.
Wow. That is so cool. It just shows how dance transcends all different ages, lifestyles, life experiences. You hear the music, it either brings something back to you, or once you learn how to dance, it gives you the ability to express yourself to the music in a way that is just, it really, I can't even think of the words for it, because it is, there's no words to put to it, because it's such a wonderful experience.
Yes, and as you know, to great music. You know, you since you've discovered your love of dance, you've also discovered or rediscovered your love of DJing.
Yep.
So you've had an opportunity to do that as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's given me a whole new world of music. Prior to dancing, I would hear the different songs, and it was like really not stuff I wanted to particularly listen to, because I had nothing to relate to it. But once I got to know the music and understand it, and the beat and what it provides, and even the history of the music, it made all the difference in the world.
That's right.
What got the two of you dancing? What had you start to dance?
Well, really, it was not wanting to be bored. I mean, we had, not that, you know, we had just gotten married and we didn't want to be bored. No. But we, you know, we didn't want to just get into that rut of coming home from work and turning on the TV and just sitting there. And I always loved to dance, and Chester had grown up in Louisiana, and where, of course, Cajun dancing is very big. But he didn't dance. You know, both of us kind of did that independent James Brown type of dancing.
Which is fine.
Which is fine, yes.
You know.
And if you love doing that, if you love movement, and if you love music, why not really learn how to dance? And so I looked around and I found a local dance class, and we went to it, and it was Chester and me and a bunch of Girl Scouts. So they were all like 12. And
but with great cookies for sale.
They're great cookies, right? But we loved it. We had a great time, and Chester just blossomed. Just absolutely found his real calling in life, I think. Right? And he talks about how when he was a kid in Louisiana, he had actually seen some old footage of dancing. And you think it was Hellzapoppin, right?
I think it was.
Yeah, so there's this famous clip that will show about that featured some dancers, and he saw it at the time, and he didn't know what it was, but he knew it was fantastic. And kind of filed somewhere in his memory that this is a really cool thing, and wouldn't it be cool to do? But he's, you know, a little kid in Louisiana, so how's he ever going to get to
1974?
1974, right? So there it comes. It comes up, you know. He filed it away and comes up in the universe here.
Interesting. And we will have an opportunity to see a clip from Hellzapoppin, but before we do, what I find very interesting is you saw it when you were very young, and there were some very famous dancers in that clip, one of which you had an opportunity to meet.
Yes. Right.
Well, so isn't that ironic, the way that comes around? But that particular dancer is Frankie Manning,
Yes.
who is a very, very special person in the world of swing dance and Lindy Hop. He is the ambassador of Lindy Hop. And Linda, both of you had the privilege of meeting him. And Linda, you had the utmost privilege of being one of the editors.
Yes,
Of-
I helped.
of the
I helped
book
to
of his
edit. I helped to edit his manuscript, his autobiography and manuscript. And on one of our later shows, we will actually have his co-writer, Cynthia Millman, on the show, sharing with us some of the great stories from the book, because the book is just filled with great stories of his life, which is a very long life. He did pass away 2 years ago, just short of his 95th birthday, and he was dancing up until the very end and spreading his love of Lindy Hop and his dance throughout the world, and just which is why the book was called The Ambassador of Lindy Hop. Great stories in that book, and I'm sure there's stories that she couldn't even get into the book because we couldn't fit everything in. So
We're going to hear them when she
yes,
comes.
we're really
Good,
looking forward
good.
to that.
Well, Frankie would be proud to know he got his job done.
Yes.
Very, very well. But let's take a look at that clip from Hellzapoppin,
Okay.
so that we can give our viewers an idea of, of what we're talking about, and also be able to have them have the opportunity to see Frankie, not only Frankie, but some other fabulous dancers who we will be talking about
Yes, we will.
in the various shows that we have. So, Hellzapoppin. Pretty fast, aren't they?
They are.
Woo.
In fact, you have to look at it really slowly. And when Cynthia joins us, she can talk more about this in the later show when she's on it. But I think I saw this clip for about 12 years before I ever saw that one of the dancers loses her little hat and throws it off to the side. Never saw that for the first gazillion times I watched this clip because it's so fast. Yeah. But of course, Frankie, when he talks about this, back when this was shot, they only had one camera. It wasn't like it is nowadays where you can have cameras all around to get all the different angles. So they had to keep reshooting and reshooting and reshooting the scene. And so he, of course, gets kicked in the pants, right, in this scene. And his partner, Ann Johnson, he told her, really kick me when we're doing this because I want it to look real. So she really kicked him. And then really kicked him, and then really kicked him because they had to shoot it 17 times. He said he couldn't walk for like a week after that. He said, if I knew we were going to have to shoot it 17 times, I never would have told her to really. But she was enjoying it.
Well, we don't do that in our classes.
No kicking in the pants.
Oh, boy.
Maybe just figuratively.
This is great because, not only from the movie clip that you just saw, but from other movie clips we'll be showing, from pictures that we'll be showing, there are so many great stories to be told about the history of this dance, the people, the music, the interactions. It's so rich. So not only are you getting this great experience of dancing, and the exercise that comes with it, and the enjoyment of music, and the socialization, but information that is so enriching to people's lives. It should almost be a course in school because the history of it is just fabulous.
Well, and it could be because it is the authentic American dance form. And it's a dance form that not only swept this country, but swept other countries as well. And in fact, what's really interesting is that in the revival in the 1980s, it was kind of like, and I really tried to ask how this happened, but simultaneously, it was kind of like a contagious thing. Simultaneously, in Sweden, in London, and in California, dancers suddenly were staying up late and watching the movies and seeing these these movies that had these clips in it. And simultaneously, they all got enraptured, and they all said, I want to learn this. And this is, of course, before video, before anything, but calling each other up and saying, it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, that film is on again. You look at their feet, I'll look at their arms, and we'll figure out what they're doing. So this is how this kind of very beginning of the resurgence started in these faraway places. And the people in Sweden always say that they taught it to the Americans. But that's how it happened. And then they all kind of said, we need to find these people. Okay, these people, some of them are still alive. Let's find them. And so they tracked down first a dancer named Al Minns. And they said, please teach us this dance. And then they tracked down Frankie Manning. And Frankie had been working at the post office for 30 years. This was a different life, his dancer life. Nobody at the post office knew that he danced. That was, as famous as he had been, winner of the Harvest Moon Ball, working at the Cotton Club, dancing at the Savoy, being in movies. As famous as that life had been for him, when the music moved on to the 1960s and everybody was doing their little
style of dancing,
right? He had to make a living. He went to work at the post office, had his 30 years of living and working at the post office, and when they first called him up and they said, "Is this Frankie Manning, the dancer?" He said, "No, this is Frankie Manning, the postal worker," because that's what his identity had become. And they said, "No, you are the dancer. You are the dancer. Please come and teach us what you know." And he was like, "I don't know how to teach. The only count I know is Count Basie," because he didn't know how to do all that, but he knew how to dance, and that's all they needed. And so he started teaching, and then had disciples, and it just kind of spread around and he had this next life, this whole next life, which is like we should all have so many lives, right? Yep. Where we're just so vital at each part of our lives.
For how many years was he teaching after he
so he was rediscovered in the mid-'80s, and he was just in his I think mid-60s at the time, or late 60s at the time. So he retired from the post office and went full-time into teaching dance, and taught until he was almost 95.
Wow, that's
and 25 years.
And when I say taught, I mean traveled all over the world. Every weekend was in a different part of the world teaching. He was truly the ambassador of Lindy Hop, which is the name of his book, and was just vital to and beloved. The man was just everyone. Because he was such a good person. He not only was this phenomenal dancer, but he just came from the heart in everything that he did. And we have a great story where when we first got into the dance, and we had been dancing for about 6 months, and we went to a dance camp, and it was a week-long intensive where we were dancing 24 hours a day. It was ridiculous. And
I just want to say, to those of you who don't dance, it might sound torturous. It is the most fun in the world.
Yes.
For those of you who do dance, if you haven't gone to dance camp, strongly consider doing it. It's spectacular.
Right. So for those of us who grew up getting to go to sleepaway camp, this is like sleepaway camp for adults, but all doing dance, which is so much fun.
You dance, eat, and sleep.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were at this dance camp in Boston, and Frankie was there, and he was in his 80s at the time, and I think he had just had a hip replacement, and so he had this cane, and he was kind of walking around, and he came to Chester and I were trying to practice one of the moves, one of the core Lindy Hop move, which is called the swing out. And again, we'd only been dancing 6 months, and I couldn't do this, and I was trying, and Chester was trying to help me, and we were just doing this on our own time in one of the spaces. Frankie came in, and he walks across the room, and he sits down, and he's watching us, and he's watching us, and he goes, and he gets up, and he walks over, and he gives us this private for, 15, 20 minutes just working with me on my swing out, and it was just such a wonderful thing. Here's this master coming to help this pauper, and it was just, that's who Frankie was.
Well, I'm sure he's very proud of his student.
I hope so.
You both had an opportunity to dance with him, to study with him, and you even had him come up to the Hudson Valley.
Yes, we did.
He visited the area.
Yes,
and
we had
did workshops.
We actually sponsored him to come and do a workshop so that so our students could have the experience that we had of him. So he came for the day, and I got to teach with him, which was just so much fun.
Boy,
yeah,
that is great.
And he did a workshop, and then we went downstairs, and we had a video camera up, and we showed video clips, and Cynthia was there, Cynthia Millman, and she talked about the various clips that she was showing, much like she'll do in some of our future shows. And it was great. Everybody got to meet and hear Frankie. So
That's wonderful.
And ask him questions, find out more about him.
Yeah, that's priceless.
Yeah.
In subsequent shows, you'll also be talking about him, showing clips of movies, talking about other dancers, because there are many, many people who are very, very important to the history of dance. You'll be talking about the different terms, such as swing out, Ickaroo, Susie Q, Big Apple, Crazy Legs,
Shorty
George.
Yeah.
All sorts of terms. These are our dance terms for different dance steps. We'll be talking about them. We'll probably be at some point demonstrating them or having the ability to have different tapes of them. But I think that you will have a lot of fun, because one of the things about dancing is you can't not smile. And I know that's a double negative. I guess that means that you have to smile. And it's just, it's wonderful. And I'm very glad that we're having the opportunity to, like I said, either introduce these concepts to you or have you hear about them because you know you love them, and have the ability to just smile as we're speaking of them.
And it's such a pleasure for us, because one of our mission when we said, okay, we're going to teach the world to dance, teach the Hudson Valley to swing dance and really share our love of this dance. This is just a great opportunity to do this, because the music is so wonderful, and the community is so wonderful, and the dance itself is so wonderful, and it's just such a heart-opening thing to do. And we opened this show by talking about the stories of how it changed our lives and how it changed your life, and the stories that I've heard over the years. And I just there's just one that just stays with me. If I could just share it, we had a student our very first year of teaching, and we sent out, satisfaction surveys at the end, because I used to, be in marketing, and I wanted to make sure that people were happy with what we were doing. And I got all these testimonials back that I didn't even ask for, They were just like, this has just been such a wonderful experience, blah, blah, blah. And one woman wrote, and I'll just never forget it, she wrote, I started dance classes with Linda and Chester 3 weeks after my husband left me for another woman, and they saved my life. You cannot put a price tag on that.
Not at all.
I mean, it's just, it's why we do what we do.
Really, and that's what I said with dancing. You have to smile. When you're dancing, you can't think bad thoughts, unless you're having a really hard time with that step, but you eventually overcome it. Really, as you can tell, I could go on and on about dancing, but in this segment, I will draw to a close. I would like to thank Chester Freeman and Linda Freeman, fabulous Hudson Valley, worldwide renowned dance instructors, for allowing me to host their show. Stay tuned for upcoming shows where there'll be wonderful guests. Like I said, dance demonstrations, dance segments, music, everything. Anything you want to know about dance, you will be able to access on this show. Swing Dance and Lindy Hop. Rock.